There is so much criticism of the coastal road over the metro. Kind of eat the rich type of talk, catering to the 1%, the decision makers, the people who are calling the shots travel by car. Why can't we have delayed some of the coastal road development, getting the metro to work faster?
So, when you consider development, have you ever found a metro in a city where the roads weren't built? Take the Middle East, which has just now got a metro in most cities. The roads were built way before. Take London Underground, the roads were there way before that as well. So, there is a stage of development. There are obviously plans in place. The interesting thing is that
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Overcorrection. Today we are in studio with Tanveer Padode.
Hi.
He is the CEO of Impact, which is an affiliate of Construction World magazine. 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. This construction site will be left unattended. I was like, who is working? Why would there be no one on this dug up side of the road?
that's the part that annoys me the most, is that you don't see the urgency. We're pretty tolerant as people, but the one thing that we don't tolerate is when someone's saying, yeah, we're doing work, but there's not one thing showing for that work.
Specific to Mumbai, we don't have corporators right now. That's who you're supposed to complain to about all these issues. Turns out we don't have them right now, so there's this whole headless chicken type of situation running around where no one's really taking ownership of it.
The issue is not the one place that it's happening, or the hundreds of places. It's that what is the rate of work being completed? Even if 2% is done per day, I can assume that in 50 it'll be done.
Yeah.
Where's the guarantee today? You don't have that.
Do you think that if inequality reaches a certain level, people will just, riot?
It depends on the relationships between the inequalities. Are the super rich able to address some parts of needs of the poor? But we're in an innovative country that keeps finding solutions to different problems and finds ways to monetize from it. All of the different startups and businesses that you've seen. I mean, which other country in the world can you get stuff in your house in 10 minutes? You can't stop people from buying cars and take public transport, because it's not just about, oh yeah, I have an air-conditioned way to work. It's a status symbol for me to have my own vehicle in order to get to where I want to get to at the time where I want to go at. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of everyone else. So it almost screams independence, that luxury.
Enjoy your independence, guys. 2-hour work commutes every day. Welcome everyone to another episode of The Overcorrection. Today we are in studio with Tanveer Padode.
Hi.
He is the CEO of Impact, which is an affiliate of Construction World magazine. Impact is an organization which provides real-time data, market analysis, project updates, research on everything related to infrastructure, construction in this country and now abroad. So Tanveer is someone who really has his ear to the ground with these issues, or at least as much of the ground that is not dug up by potholes and litter. So, on that front, I really wanted to talk to him about what is happening to many of our major metro cities in this country, particularly Mumbai. I have always found one of the sad things about living in India is that I have to choose between a nice, pleasant place to live with clean air, with no litter, with some semblance of a pleasant ambiance, and any type of good infrastructure, So if I want to be close to a good hospital, it comes with an AQI that is like 150. If I want to be next to a good school, it comes in the middle of 300 intersections which are dug up, and there's traffic and congestion, and you have rampant poverty and homelessness and all this around you. And this is the trade-off we have to make.
Yeah. So firstly, thank you for having me here.
Yeah. Sorry for such a sad note before we got to even welcome you properly to the show. But
so, if you have to consider Mumbai, it's a city that's existed for a very long period of time. When we're discussing urban challenges today, when, a city that's probably older than, 70, 80 years of, well, not development, but you would say at least that there were people living, there was, larger than a small town and maybe less of a city at that point in time. But over the years, it's grown to an overpopulated city. So communities already existed. You already had people living in certain parts of the city. They had either reformed slums, some development may have come up, or they built their own and figured it out. So whatever was available at that point, people have set up localities over there. When you consider infrastructure development, take transportation, for example, the parts that are already congested, they can't be solved. You can't decongest people from a Parel or from Muhammad Ali Road or from anywhere, any other congested part of the city. You have to find ways so that people don't crowd around. And that's, say, a metro example, because you take people under and you shuttle them between two parts of the city. The idea is that it proves as a parallel to the current railway. So if you had 100 people in a railway station and now you have a metro, maybe 30, 40 people go and take a metro because they can afford it. While the guys who are pushing and, they have to because that's the cheapest mode of transport that there is, will continue to take that. You're not going to get people out of, paying double for a metro just like that. It's not going to happen.
And hopefully those people will have like now a slightly more civilized way to travel because of the lack of crowding. Why do you think that there is so much criticism of the coastal road over the metro? I hear all this kind of eat the rich type of talk where, hey, this is only catering to the 1%, the decision makers, the people who are calling the shots travel by car. So, hey, they're interested in the coastal road. Why can't we have maybe, say, delayed some of the coastal road development, getting the metro to work faster?
So, two things on this. One is, when you consider development, have you ever found a metro in a city where the roads weren't built? You haven't found a metro. Take the Middle East, which has just now got a metro in most cities. The roads were built way before. Take London Underground. The roads were there way before that as well. So which city builds their road infrastructure network after? So there is a stage of development. There are obviously plans in place. The interesting thing is that we have such short-term memory that we don't remember the plan from 5 years ago, that this was already planned to come out. This guy is coming out and saying that, I'm doing this for you and I'm doing that for you. It was already scheduled. It was just a matter of sort of pushing the paper across and, signing it and on the dotted line. Also, our roads were congested. I've read a lot about a few people where they were saying, the BST buses, they were reducing the number of BST buses in the city. If you've dug up so much of the city and you had these many buses today, what would be the situation? There's a shortfall of 3,000 buses or something around that number. What would you do if there were 3,000 more buses in a city and take out the coastal road?
It's not like everyone is going to get out of their cars and hop in those buses. You're just going to add 3,000 buses and you're probably going to thin out the crowd on the buses, but the roads are going to be just more congested.
So urban planning sort of takes a jump there. From the station, from the metro station, you need to have a larger supply of buses that can ferry people out so that you don't have overcrowding at those areas. You got to have a place where the buses can park so that people can actually get on those buses and go, not just stop in the middle of the Western Express Highway and be like, get on the bus now because this station is right here. So those are the kind of changes that... So take your BKC station, for instance. The metro station. BKC to Andheri is open right now. We're soon to have Worli opening, I think, as of next month. The ridership has been falling. A key reason for that is last mile connectivity. When you get off at the BKC station, you're in the middle of the income tax department on one side and you have to walk 15 minutes before you see anything of BKC. In this weather, 40 degrees out, how many ever degrees are? There's rain, there's extreme heat. 2 months of the year you'll feel like walking. How are you going to get from point A to point B?
The 2 months of the year you're on chutti, most of the time. So tell me, let's get back to this bus thing, because people have sort of been complaining, we're incentivizing more and more individual vehicular transport by this coastal road. Buses were like the lifeline of the city, now dying out. I get that the roads are dug up. What are we going to do with all these buses? But let's go to that point. Why are so many of the roads just dug up? Wouldn't it make sense to do one road at a time? So,
I don't know how well I can answer the first part of the question, but for road repair, if the word is road repair, it's an overnight job. It does not take longer than that. If they are sort of removing a few layers, so like they're doing with concretization, they have to, drill through, try to find ways to improve that road. May take a couple of days. It's not, and we've seen it on Altamont Road. Concretization was done over 1 week. The entire road was
Maybe
done.
Someone important lives there. I don't know.
But it's possible. And when you know it's possible, then the question arises, why is it not everywhere else? Why is time not money in this case? What is so profitable for them to delay that you'd rather have people continuing on a job than finding new jobs?
Yeah, I think this is where like that whole mentality, I think the delay is what is profitable
Has
at
to
the
be.
end of it. Has to be.
Has
Otherwise,
to
I
be.
mean, no one is. I mean, we're too chindi as a culture for it to be anything else. Even if they want to take time, why not just do one road at a time? Like, what's not making sense is right outside here. Go throughout anywhere, Mumbai Central, Baikola, Worli. Don't even get me started on Andheri. Okay? Every single road except one is dug up. It's like a roll of the dice. You don't even know which route to take. It's not updated on Google Maps.
Never.
Because it's too. I don't even blame Google for not being able to keep track of it.
Changes every day.
Changes every day. You'll cross the workstation 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. This construction site will be left unattended. I was like, who is working? It's 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. Why would there be no one on this dug up side of the road?
That's the part that annoys me the most, is that you don't see the urgency. Everything, I think we're pretty tolerant as people, but the one thing that we don't tolerate is when someone's saying, yeah, we're doing work, but there's not one thing showing for that work. So, for example, at Parel right now, it's dug up because they're fixing some pipeline. Now, they were doing it very well for the first 10 days. There were people on site, there were machines at work, they looked like they had covered a lot of ground. It looked like they were nearly done. And now we sit 3 weeks later and it's still the same. I mean, men are nowhere to be seen. Nobody's working, but it's just there. So one has to try to figure out, if there was urgency and there were actual problems being solved every day, you would see it and you would see the change immediately.
Yeah, and I think specific to Mumbai, we don't have cooperators right now who you could, I learned that's who you're supposed to complain to about all these issues. Turns out we don't have them right now. So there's this whole headless chicken type of situation running around where no one's really taking ownership of it. Today, as a citizen, you don't have someone you can go complain to. You can go complain to your MLA, but we don't even have a cooperator whose job it is to look into why work is not happening on a particular road.
And tell me, how would you, if you got in touch with this person, what are your chances, do you think, of actually making some headway? You'll file an action, you'll file a report, you may get a response, but the issue is not the one place that it's happening, or the hundreds of places. It's that, what is the rate of work being completed? If we focused on that, we'll see progress. Even if 2% is done per day, I can assume that in 50 it'll be done.
Yeah.
Where's the guarantee today?
Where's the guarantee?
You don't have that.
I don't know exactly how these contracts work, and maybe you can tell, but there's this great example with SpaceX in the United States with how they got their first government contract. And this is where Elon Musk, pre all his notorious days right now, really had some game-changing approaches to how to do business with the government. So this is what I thought was really cool, right? So Boeing and these other Lockheed Martin and stuff had huge government contracts, right? And they had these contracts which were not based on them being completed. So they're doing aerospace engineering. So they're like, hey, listen, we can't be sure when this will be done. So, we'll pay us for 5 years. And if it takes more than 5 years, y'all will have to keep paying us this annually to complete the project. The excuse being that this is such a complicated thing. How can we know for sure? Right? And Elon Musk went and said, hey, I'll sign a fixed contract with you. I don't get paid till the job gets done.
We wish that happened here.
Do you think some of that same thing is happening here? That people are sort of making money off the delay by having contracts such as these with people?
It's actually benefiting no one in the value chain when something gets delayed. When a contractor who's taken a loan for a project takes more months to pay it back, it's not in his best interest. He's paying more interest cost.
Yes.
The only way he can get paid back is if either the cost of the contract gets escalated. So 100 rupees becomes 150 rupees, then okay, great. I have 50 more rupees out of which I'm paying an interest cost.
Of
and
10, 12 rupees and...
wherever you get your margin in that sense. So only in those situations, otherwise contracts are the first ones to say that, let us just complete. There are so many of them that take bonuses from the National Highway Authorities of India. They give bonuses. If you finish it quickly, you get bonuses.
So why is that not happening on a local level? It seems great, right? The coastal road up and running looked amazing. No one is going to put that one gully in Andheri on, news and applaud the government for it. But so how do we get these type of bonuses in play for small road construction?
So the major issue with city construction is permissions.
Okay.
And if you have a very cooperative government, those would all be in sort of one department, or not one department, at least a synchronized process of how you can get some permission for something to get done. So if you need to move railway lines, you need to put a water pipeline, or electricity lines for something, you need permissions from those separate departments. There's nobody that makes that easy. It's a manual process. You go, you figure out within each department what's the story there, and those are the places where your work get held up.
Okay, so you think that's why, like tomorrow, if I see a road being worked on, and they have to do some water work under that road, and day after I see there's no work happening, it's the middle of the day, the whole day I see no work happening on that road, there's a good chance that someone has not gotten permission, and that's why they're just not working.
To say that, you can't really say that. It could be a various number of reasons. Because usually, I would say anything that sort of made it easy to get that would be done beforehand, before the contract was given. After that, it's usually a procedural effort to try to get things done. See, the government does want to get things done. It's not like they have an aim that let me just stop everything because it reflects well on me. It doesn't. There is a machinery in place that plays a pivotal role in getting this done, and getting them to do things that they are not used to or in a better way is not always beneficial for them. But that doesn't mean things aren't changing. Things are changing everywhere. You look at the rest of the country where people have had sort of unilateral support. They've built amazing sort of expressways, airports, bridges, some things that we haven't seen here.
Which cities can Mumbai look to? Can you give some examples of these?
Hyderabad. I think it's an ideal city that has been developed with the current needs of the current society in different places.
How so? Just broadly.
See, you have to look at where majority of your traffic is moving between, and if you create good infrastructure there, you can support that infrastructure. The Hyderabad metro has been already laid out. I think 3 lines are operational, and it's coming up at emerging neighborhoods. So where developers are building stuff, they're building metros right around there. So in the next 5 years, when those things get occupied, those people have ready commute methods to get to, either south, west, or whichever part of Hyderabad that they want. For people who are traveling by car, and remember, car in this country is a status symbol. It's not got to do with you having your own space to travel. It's the fact that, I've made it somewhere in a country where a car was looked at as a luxury not too long ago.
Yeah, we've seen those Maruti ads, right? Like, and then you see
car.
all those sad people looking at you getting on the bus, jealous.
But that's the reason you can't stop people from buying cars and take public transport, because it's not just about, I have an air-conditioned way to work. It's a status symbol for me to have my own vehicle in order to get to where I want to get to at the time where I want to go at. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of everyone else. So it almost screams independence in the way that you look at that luxury.
Yeah, enjoy your independence, guys. 2-hour commutes every day. So then Hyderabad, that's a good example. So essentially we're looking at a little forward thinking. Now I would imagine that in these up and coming localities where they are building metro line connectivity and where neighborhoods are coming up, they actually don't have a big voter base there.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can see why people are focused on getting things done where people are already living. But that I think is part of the problem.
So you look at Delhi. I'll give you a contrasting example of Delhi, where people were everywhere. They just continued building the metro because they were able to prove that having more lines meant, and once they were interconnecting the system, people were happier to travel from point A to point B by metro. They've crossed, I think, 1 crore passengers daily. That's a huge number.
Yeah, Delhi Metro is really good. I took it for the first time recently, and you can't really differentiate it from the London Metro. If I had to look at the way I entered, the type of infrastructure around, they even had these barricades on the platform.
Yeah.
Forget the doors closing on them, which we've talked about on our locals and stuff like that. They even had separate barricades on the platform there for safety, which was great. I did find that it's still a bit to go from here to here, you have to go from here to here to here to there, and a few more changes than the London Metro, but I assume as more metro stations pop up, that will be cleaned out.
Exactly, and it brings and also is very standardized. So they didn't Delhi Metro Rail Corporation (DMRC), which is the parent body that plans metros, got so good at it that now they bid for international contracts to manage other countries' metros. They are managing part of Mumbai Metro. They are responsible for essentially bringing in quality into a project. So when you get good at something, you figure out how everyone is satisfied with the outcome, and people actually benefit from this program. These are infrastructure projects that work.
Yeah, I think it's very clear when you look at the profile of people in Delhi who take the metro versus the profile of people in Mumbai who take the metro. You have a more affluent class in Delhi taking the metro than you have in Mumbai.
Yeah, because they're actually able to see they can handle their entire life via the metro.
Yeah, and yeah, that metro ride I took, it was $70 for what otherwise would have been a 500 rupee taxi.
That's
good.
a good saving.
Yeah, that's a good saving.
So especially for the people that travel by cab or by Ubers a lot,
Yes.
this would replace that part over there.
So taking a bit of a broader look on all this construction and infrastructure, I always look at like the backdrop of it is the environment created by it. And today we're seeing in Mumbai that we have unprecedented levels of pollution, stuff that was not there 10 years ago, not there 5 years ago even, I might say. And it turns out it is all particulate matter and dust pollution. You know, your AQI meters on your phone, you can open it up and check it out. Go look at Delhi's pollution levels. They not only give you an AQI reading, they give you a breakup of what is creating that air quality index. And in Delhi, it's all like these chemicals, nitrous oxide or, some type of combustion related chemicals and gases. Here, it's all particulate matter, PM 2.5, PM 10 concentrations. And that's all this dust. You see it, like you walk outside and you'll see a jackhammer on the road just spraying dust onto everyone. Walking by right there. Every street you go, there's dust. You have to roll up your windows for no reason, even when the weather's nice outside. Aren't there some sort of sensible construction regulations to make sure this doesn't happen?
So let's put it this way: a building can't cause that much of dust. So I think there was a study done, and all of Bombay was sort of uproar over the air quality that was there. I think earlier in the year, there was a study done, I think, to see that where is all of this dust coming from. Road construction was the primary cause of it. The reason being that it spans across. It's horizontal construction, so it spans across a longer area, while a building is confined to a certain location. So it couldn't have been that much building construction that was happening that was causing this. And road construction also requires sand, aggregate, stuff that would sort of create these the dust in the environment. How do you curb this? So the question is, how do you know what's going to cause this amount of dust? Is a study that the government needs to do and figure out what are the levels at which how many kilometers of road should be allowed to be constructed at a given point in time in order to do that. It's impacted people's lives here. Yes, we've seen a lot of AQI increases. In Delhi, you had a situation where kids weren't going to school. They were suffering at home. There was actual suffering happening on the back of these decisions, which is what led to sort of different methods and crisis management situations.
Yes.
I don't know if we hit that here.
I don't think we've hit that in that mainstream level here, but people are reporting higher rates of respiratory illness. Now, haven't you seen that? Haven't you noticed, like, just go around, how many times do people say, oh, I've come down with something, it's that thing that's going around in the air. It's a change of season. I was like, bro, I've heard this on every day of the year from someone. It's not a particular change in season. People are just getting sick. People are getting a lot of respiratory things. I don't know what's causing it, but to say that a crazy amount of dust in the air is not contributing
Fair
to that
enough.
at all. And I have personal anecdote level heard people whose children are developing childhood like asthma, bronchitis. They've been asked by doctors to take their kids. So, they'll take their kids to Alibag for 2 months if you have that luxury. What is everyone else doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
You can't do anything.
Nothing. You can't do anything about it. So, it's not reached Delhi's levels, but the point is in Mumbai, we shouldn't have to. Like, this is, I'd say, the easiest part to avoid.
Yeah.
right? I would say construction related dust and stuff there should be some like way to combat it.
Yeah, and I would also support that by saying is that we're seeing the highest levels of infrastructure development across Mumbai and MMR for that matter. Across the entire city, we're seeing a huge wave of construction. You have from the Samruddhi Mahamarg, which is the Mumbai-Nagpur expressway, to the missing link, which is an improvement to the Mumbai-Pune expressway, which is going to reduce sort of the entire Ghats portion of the expressway. There's a lot of construction ongoing. No, there's no doubt about it, and it's impressive construction. Sorry, I come from the industry.
I get it. We all want
to,
we look. You don't want to be like we all look to these cities like Tokyo and Shanghai and New York, and we all marvel at the construction there, right? So we want that, but how did they not get so dusty?
I mean, China, for example, if you take China as an example, they went through severe bouts of dust with their industrialization. And they took measures in order to sort of curb that over the next 10 years after.
Big air purifiers in the air and stuff.
So they took corrective measures where they saw it as a strong enough problem. I think it's up to leadership over here to take a call as to what they feel is that limit. And where are we actually endangering our the children or anybody else who is susceptible to these sort of issues.
Yeah, because what I see is happening is if it's up to leadership, up to government to take these calls that, hey, around every big construction site, we need one of these big air purifiers. I mean, there's a dumb solution, but
there's a better one. There's a construction, demolition, literally their job is construction waste, to clear construction waste. The longer the waste stays around there,
it gets blown about.
So the easiest thing to do is make sure the sites are clean. That's one easier suggestion that one can take out, is because you're reducing the areas where things have just piled up as dust.
Absolutely. What I see happening as a consequence of all of this is sort of a privatization of things that the government should provide in public. Okay? I live in one of these multi-tower complexes, right?
Community
buildings. Yeah. Inside this building, it feels like its own little well-maintained city, right? There's a patch of grass, there's a walkway, there's a grocery store somewhere. And when I step out of my house, I get to walk by this patch of grass with some flowers planted and some kids are playing, and I reach a grocery store. This is what actual public land was supposed to be like. Instead,
what happens when you walk outside here?
I don't. I don't.
Fair.
And that's the design. I don't buy design. These buildings are designed because you walk outside my building, no one would walk. People always say, oh, you should walk around, like people abroad, or when you go to London, you walk around. No, I was like, go to London and walk around, and go outside my building and walk around. It is a mental and physical health hazard outside my building. There is no footpath. They're building a metro, which I don't know how I'm going to get to, because I don't see any like clear footpath to the metro. It seems to just like be on the main road.
Yeah.
And it's a very narrow road. So I don't know how people are going to get there.
That's what. There's a reason that these projects have taken off so well also. If you looked at all of the construction that was done, say, pre-COVID, you saw fewer complexes, community spaces. Like there were some, but they didn't focus so much on the amenities or the wellness experience part of the property.
They were just stacking.
Correct. And they were giving you 50 floors height, great view, normal gym, normal setup of this ambience and these features in the place. Now you've gone into the category where people are willing to pay that top dollar for better and better experiences.
Yeah.
And that's what took off in COVID, because people suddenly realized the power of the home as a place of work where you spend so much more of your time. So now they're willing to invest way more, and that's what's called, I think that's one of the factors that's contributed to this real estate boom that we're seeing right now, is the fact that not everyone has access to country clubs. Not everyone's going there for this nice fresh air, this gym, the food and other things like that. They have no sort of community.
Yeah, and even the people who have access to that still have to make it through this horrible road infrastructure and traffic to go there. There are people who like to go to the gym in the morning and play a game of tennis in the evening between work.
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing 3 different commutes in this city every day?
Yeah,
you would be spending 4 hours a day in traffic.
half the time we play paddle at night
Yeah.
because there's no traffic to
'Cause there's
get
no
to
traffic.
the slot. You don't lose the slot.
Yeah.
So, exactly, you can't do that unless it's within your limits. But then people have now flourished by being in part of these communities.
Yeah,
Kids
but-
can play tennis in their own building, play football, cricket.
It's large enough space. You even have a breeze coming that's not blowing dust in your face.
You have cricket leagues within your own building. So
Yeah.
it's formulating a better sense of community than other communal areas would.
But it's also such a niche, and it's also dependent on so much labor
Yeah.
that is having to live in very bad conditions right outside the border walls. You know, and I genuinely don't know, like, at what point that delicate dance breaks, man. Like, at what point can people continue to deal with so many problems for meager earnings and support a small niche of people like who can afford to pay through their nose for privatizing like land?
But it's why they have a job, right? So it's business, it's capitalism that takes control in that conversation. Is that if people are willing to pay for better quality services,
Do you ever just think that at some point, this is like a little off infrastructure, but do you think that if inequality reaches a certain level, people will just, riot?
yeah, it could. It's a possibility.
Do you think it's like a far-fetched one, like it's not really going to happen?
It depends on the relationships between between the inequalities. Are the super rich able to address some parts of needs of the poor? For example, giving them internet, giving them water, electricity. Can you satisfy those basic needs? If so, lesser chances of it. It's when there is one side thinking the other side is not listening at all. But we're in an innovative country. We're part of an innovative country that keeps finding solutions to different problems and finds ways to monetize from it. All of the different startups and businesses that you've seen have all tried to solve an intrinsic need where, I mean, which other country in the world can you get stuff in your house in 10 minutes? I don't know too many places. I really miss Swiggy, Zomato when I go abroad because you're like, shit, it's 11. These places in Europe must have, shut. There must be no place to eat. And if I had Swiggy or Zomato, I'd get it right now and, 400 rupees, 300 rupees. What a meal. What a day. What a treat.
Yeah. And I guess a larger and larger proportion of the country is using those services. It's not super elitist to use Swiggy anymore.
Exactly. So you can do like bulk grocery shopping and sort of save money than what you'd buy from a retail store, which charges you a higher margin on because they're not getting it from a wholesaler. So if there's even $1 to make or save, we're there.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's hope there's no riots. And like, I still keep coming back to that point about what is the government doing with funds to help the masses?
So if you look at first just the decision-making structure over here, there's a central government, there's a state government, and there's a municipal government. Those are the layers that I would show you. Everything that happens in Mumbai is a city-related issue. Municipal. Anything that's happening on our state highways, that becomes part of a state conversation. So when we're saying there are not enough good hospitals or education institutions in a place, it's not up to the center to provide those. So for example, the center says that we want to provide the best quality in Medicare, which is the AIMS hospitals, in different parts of the country. And they've started building it and they can execute quickly. Why? A, they have the money. B, they have the land, or they buy the land pretty quickly. The decision-making power is more connected and leads to an outcome because the guy at the top wants an outcome. And it's his team that's executing the whole thing. Imagine relaying a message down from central government telling the state or the municipal government to carry out a particular task. Unless you're from the same party or you're part of the same sort of thought and you agree with what this person says, you're not going to do it unless it sort of serves your interests or your people's interests. So decision making, when we can look at it this holistically and say, oh yeah, we need more of these over there, more of that over there. We hope that there are other people also telling the government this and they are well aware of what they can or cannot do. But it comes down to the individual department that's responsible for it. So when we say that, the central government's not providing this, it may or may not be their job to provide it. It may be a local city issue which your city should be providing. In that case, you need to go find who your local MLA is, ask them what's up, and see what answer that you can get.
Also, within Mumbai, there's all different bodies doing all the different work,
Silos.
right?
Working in silos is the biggest problem. I mean, the concept of a smart city was introduced on the back of that each department was working individually. They weren't working together. So the same thing, right? When you complain about a road getting dug up 5 different times, once for electricity, once for telephone, once for internet, it's because they don't talk to each other. Each person has their own planned problem, their planned hurdle that they have overcome, and now they're moving to their execution stage of it. But someone at that execution stage needs to manage that. Listen, you guys are going in week after week after week, and you'll all just coordinate at once and finish this off. Who's going to be able to have the power to talk to each individual department and get them to pull that off?
Yeah, now right now there are like 5 bosses. 4 of them are going to lose their job and it's going to be 1 boss. So everyone kind of wants control over their thing.
Yeah.
To some, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the head of the water thing is like, man, I don't want to answer to anyone else. I'll just do the water whenever I want to do the water.
And how does he manage his job? What is his boss going to be happy with him doing? Not maybe what's not prudent or what's one set of people want, but maybe what the plans that they've had for 5 years, he has to complete the execution
he has different
of that.
targets that contradict with the electricity grid.
Correct. And they are helping people in different ways. It's not like these departments are sitting empty or not doing their work. It's just they may not be doing what we need them to solve right now for them. It may have been a continuous problem and people have learned how to live with it. It moves out of the news cycle. That doesn't mean the problem doesn't exist. So, and when those guys get relief, nobody's coming out and saying, oh, these guys fixed my problem. These guys have really helped me out. It took time, but they got there. They did their job. Who's saying that? Nobody. Look at all the benefits. Can you imagine traveling to Bandra today without the C-Link from Worli? You can't. It's an integral part of our infrastructure that's changed our life. The coastal, it really made me feel like I was outside of India.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at it, the Bandra-Worli ceiling sort of laid the thought for the coastal.
Yeah.
You know, like there was no talk of a coastal back when the Bandra-Worli ceiling came up. And then suddenly, you know, the idea expanded from there and now we're going to cover all the way to Versova. So you mentioned smart cities, right? So I wanted to ask, like, what happened to that whole plan? Like Lavasa. How do we get people to, because no one's going there. It's actually a defunct project, Lavasa. People who bought properties there are like trying to sell them back because without the community around it, it's not worth anything.
Correct. So, I mean, the smart cities discussion is actually a little larger than that. There were 100 smart cities that were announced by a prime minister, I think, back in 2014, and said that we need to develop 100 smart cities. Now, what those smart cities were envisaged as and what they came to be are 2 separate things. But the idea was, we need smarter decision making at a city level. So the problem that we just discussed about digging the road 3 times, that shouldn't be happening in a smart city. Why? Because each department head is looking at a grid where they can see works involved and see that, oh, we're digging in the same spot. And they have a connected dashboard that sort of brings that.
Were they looking at making new cities like where there is like just like a small town and building around, or making cities smart?
So one is possible, the other one is tough to implement, right? For example, in a city like Mumbai, a command and control center is a must-have. How can you, and I think it was one of the US presidents coming to Bombay where they installed 6,000 cameras or 3,000 cameras when he was coming, I think Obama at that point, and took the cameras and left once he had left. And then I think the leadership got to thinking, why can't we have our own sort of network coverage of cameras that are connected? And they are able to effectively solve a lot of issues that one has today because of those cameras. If someone's car gets banged in the middle of the night, how are you going to find out who hit you? It's the camera on that intersection that's telling you this car, this guy, registered to whom. And they're able to take that decision at a better level than what you're used to. And they have cameras everywhere. Any incident, they can pull up and they can show it to you that this was the incident.
You saw that, the crash? The Gujarat one.
Which one? The Thar or with the...
No, right now this dude who killed this lady on the bike.
The drunk guy who got out of the car.
You know, even he blamed potholes. Do you know this? This is what's happening when you don't fix the roads. This idiot. There's so many potholes that he thought he could get away with.
Yeah. So, but smarter cities in a broader sense didn't work as well because, or they may have worked to a certain extent. If certain cities have issues, they're able to use the tools that they have at their disposal to sort of figure it out. I think in COVID, they were doing contact tracing with a lot of those command and control centers, which proved vital when you were trying to save a small town from getting infected. I think there was one city called Bhilwara, which had a very unique way of contact tracing, and they were able to find people very easily with their CCTV.
Yeah, so you never know how it's going to help. But what about, so what happened to these, the other cities? What came of them? Like today, 10, 11 years down the line from the announcement.
So there were 500 crores given to each city from the center. 100 smart cities, I think that's 50,000 crores. Yeah. 50,000 crores that were given to these 500, to these 100 cities. Most of it went in infrastructure and very little went into tech. Whereas the idea was to get further ahead in the planning, data collection, monitoring, understand how where your city is failing and fix those issues.
They made it just huge right away.
No, they made bigger buildings, command control centers, administrative buildings where they can oversee things.
And what should they have made instead, like when you say tech?
So, smart sensors, look at all your utilities. Where is your electricity getting wasted? Where's your water getting wasted? Where's sewage not being collected? Garbage collection. They did a lot of good projects, certain people did, but they did it piecemeal. There was no standard template for them to follow. So, and also IAS officers used to move every 3 years. 3 to 5 years, depending on how long their tenure was.
So they're like,
I've made a plan. I'm executing said plan. I get transferred. Other person comes. Other person makes new plan. If there's no consistency in how that plan is going to be executed, or there's no sort of belief that what this person had done was right and I should continue it.
And even if people are switching every 3 years, top-down templatization would then be the way to make sure that whoever comes in fits this role.
Yeah, and why don't they have set KPIs that said that you need to make sure that you're.
Again, it's that it's short-term thinking. I think when you mentioned about building the metro in a congested place, even now, given this opportunities, you have all this money to build a smart city. You could have built a 10-story building, measured the utilities around there, but that doesn't look as cool as building these huge grand towers, I guess.
Yeah.
Why else? I'm trying to think why people would want to go for the, say, infrastructure over the tech, which was sort of the idea.
You cannot educate people overnight. I can't tell you everything you need to know about AI and expect you to build me something fantastic tomorrow. There is a digestion process that should have taken place, training that should have taken place, a plan of how these officers would execute all of these plans. But I think it was more as you figure it out. This is what we want you to do. So anything without training, without getting the right people who are professionally trained or given a good outcome to follow, how would you expect them to be super successful? They might get it right. Some of them might get it, get it right on and manage to deliver all the outcomes. But
that's luck. I mean, on a statistical level, that's
on
luck.
A statistical level. It may be the best intentions of the person, and they may have got a lot right, and some things went wrong.
And they may be educated, but on average, you're going to play with out of 100 cities. I mean, 5 is not the right answer you want at the end that do well. Shit, man. That's very sad because I remember going to Lavasa in the early days. One of my friends had, invested in a property that was coming up over there, and we went, to go check out the place. And there was a restaurant, and it was nice, and there was a small little town square. And 2-3 years later, all those houses are unoccupied. They're kind of coming down. No one is visiting. The roads have become, the roads which were like these, like Italian hill-looking roads were suddenly just decrepit. And I don't know what's happening. People are saying that even when you look at trying to expand Mumbai out, this Atal Setu, the whole idea of people are going to just live in New Bombay. Do you know anyone who has moved to New Bombay?
So no, I don't know anyone who has moved yet. But the reason is that the Atal Setu was built for 2 reasons. One, to get to the Navi Mumbai International Airport. The second, to get people in and out of the city much quicker. The airport is a much bigger reason, and the timing of the project is also a much bigger reason to create that link. When you have operations starting now, they finished MTHL just last year. they also have a really cool bridge that's coming up from Worli to Sivri. Okay, so west to east, and so you're going to get off the coastal, be able to get onto this bridge, Worli Sivri, and connect straight to MTHL.
I won't hold you to this, but take a guess on when that will open.
To be honest, there will be pressure on it because the success of the Navi Mumbai International Airport depends on commuters being able to easily travel there. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to travel there. I think 26 or 27.
26 or 27. That would be great. Because I've always complained about Mumbai. The west to east connectivity is dog shit.
Yeah.
It's painful. You can travel 20 kilometers north-south in the time it takes you to travel 2 kilometers east-west. I am not exaggerating.
100%.
It's like it's insane. Going from Andheri east to west in the evening at 6 p.m., I would rather go to Pune. Like it may take me half an hour longer to get to Pune, but I won't lose my mind.
Have you realized how certain areas with the coastal road coming up, certain areas have just seen a drop in...
Yeah.
Have you seen what Padode Road looks like?
Haji Ali.
Look at Padode Road.
Yeah.
Padode Road is empty.
Yeah.
What used to be packed 2-lane street, packed with 3 lanes, packed with a few more things, is now empty. People have changed their routes to work.
Yeah. People are coming home from Fort to Breach Candy for lunch and going back.
Yeah. Very doable.
It's a 1 hour lunch where you get to come home, 12-15 minutes in the car each way, and a pleasant 12-15 minutes. I always say that it's not always the time.
Yeah.
It's how the time is being spent. You've driven in Goa.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
easy.
chill. It's easy. You can drive 20 minutes and it's like, relax, open the windows.
Traffic
play
is 5
some
cars
music.
ahead of you.
Traffic is 5 cars and it's like almost fun. Like, hey, you might know the person. Over here, it's like 1 kilometer stretch and you have a headache.
You're swearing at all the people around you.
Yeah.
Already.
Pretending you don't see beggars. That's like you feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do, right?
I mean, there are different kinds of projects for that. There's
Yeah.
slum rehabilitation, SRA that's come in Dharavi, if that goes through, which is looking quite likely.
The Adani redevelopment of it.
But so imagine if that land actually starts, if they're able to amicably resolve the residents' issues. So what they're doing is, usually what happens in a SRA is, the ground floor guys get taken into the new scheme. Anyone who lived in the Jhopri sort of 1 level, 2 level, 3 level up, they're not counted in the...
Because those are like illegal. I mean, it's all illegal construction.
Yeah, but the way to look at it is that's the general rule that they sort of follow.
Okay.
That these guys are 1 level, these guys are higher levels up of illegal in that sense.
Yeah.
So Dharavi is the only one which has taken everyone into account. Saying that we will provide for everyone. I think they would like this project to succeed.
Nice.
You know what?
Yeah,
there will be a time where we will, if this goes through, there will be a time where someone will discuss, oh, have you moved into that sort of property
Yeah.
which might end up being...
They'll call this one New Kolaba. Someone tell me, okay, this is the most important infrastructure question I have to ask. Tell me some logic by which Wadala is New Cuff Parade. Some historical thing connecting them together, that Queen Elizabeth was there and she was in Wadala.
It's called creative marketing. That's all it is, right?
But there has to be something. I'll call my New Boston,
I mean,
like anything.
people have changed names for various reasons in this
New
country.
Cuff Parade. Like, what is the history of Cuff Parade to call Wadala New Cuff Parade?
It's just, Cuff Parade was sort of on a downward trend as an area, and they found a way to revitalize the name.
So how does that percolate into society?
It just takes time. If people keep saying it, then something must be true.
That they just started putting it out there. Someone registered enough places on Google Maps to
Correct.
call it new. It's kind of a marketing campaign.
It is.
That has actually changed the name of a locality. That's pretty impressive, whoever did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good marketing. It's sensible marketing, saying that we can adorn this new name, give it a bit of, give it a different way. People can consider Wadala, something called Wadala, and change the way it looks and feels, because all it takes is a few good properties, a little bit of good infrastructure, and you
a
look
paddle
futuristic.
court.
That's what we want.
Yeah, because before it was all like rebranding Prabhadevi to Upper Worli, and it was like this kind of it was just pushing the boundaries. This has been like a teleportation.
Imagine cities whose names have changed. How have you? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, that happens through like a city order. Like there is actually a formal way to change the name of a city.
This is just good marketing.
This is just good marketing.
We don't know. Maybe they have some.
That would be the most ridiculous official change.
I mean, honestly, anything that helps sell, why wouldn't someone do that? If you could change the way people looked at Dharavi and you would consider living there at some point.
There's no way it's going to be called the Dharavi Adani Towers.
I don't think so. I think they probably have a better name for that, or so they'll have to change the way it's looked at, right?
Yeah.
So it was the largest slum in Asia. It's not small. The largest slum in Asia, and we're gonna have everyone living there, right next to the airport. Probably there's a metro station right there. Just imagine how life would transform for all of those people.
Yeah.
It's
unbelievable, actually.
It's only if they're able to not disrupt their current lives.
In parts.
Yeah, but just imagine a guy who's traveling 20 minutes for work now, if he has to travel 1.5 hours for work and not live in good conditions, or if he's living in slightly better conditions now, how better off is this person feeling? That's how that determines, how they feel after the entire transaction.
And what would
the
time scale for a project like this be? Like, what have they announced roughly?
I'm not so sure I remember what the time frame is, because
must be like 5-10 years.
Easily. I mean, it's
right?
it's not possible to develop so much land so quickly unless they already have a ready, DPR in place.
And if it was like empty land, forget. Even if it was empty land, it would be like hard to develop so much land.
And as long as they can give them all temporary housing, right?
Where would they look for temporary housing?
So the current site is, I think, somewhere called Deonar, which is originally, if I'm not mistaken, was a dumping ground. But if you look at it, a lot of places that are now that we're living in used to be maybe dumping grounds earlier. I think, I don't know, cut this out if this is not true, but BKC was a swamp before.
Yeah.
So in that sense, people are living there, going to work there, and suddenly it's one of the most modern parts of Mumbai. So it depends on what kind of, you can transform anything into anything if you have good methods. There's soil testing. There are so many different ways to check whether the ground that you're building on is good or not good, whether it'll sustain, is this livable, will people, have issues if they live here. There is a lot of testing that goes on to make sure. These tests actually take a lot of time to prepare for a project. Why you think projects are not moving fast? Because they have to find the right way to build it out. They have to find the right tools to solve the problems that they see while testing and finding these issues. So, I think my point of view on this entire subject is that there is good work happening. Yes, we only hear the complaints. Who was the one who said, wow, the coastal road has changed my life? Where do you see that on social media? You said that, you talked about it amongst friends, but the patchwork on the coastal road was Twitter, front page news, BMC gets into action, fixes the issue and makes a statement. Where's the good news? Where are we commending the things? Because people said it should have been done long back. Okay. It's done now.
It's done now.
It's helping you today.
Yes.
Are you not happy with it today? Should they take it away and close it down? Because, so I just feel like there's a balance of looking at this development game, and we're considering a developed city. We're always going to have issues.
Yeah.
We're not a new city.
Yeah. And I think Mumbai might be one of the toughest places in the world probably to do construction.
Can you imagine they dug a metro under this city? Would you have thought that was actually even possible before you heard this plan?
Yeah.
We don't know what's below us. Like you and I don't know what's there below us.
Yeah.
How did they find and not sort of disrupt the entire city's lives by drilling with a tunnel boring machine 3 floors under our feet? And I mean, I'm sure there were issues in certain places, but for the most part, we haven't heard of too many.
Yeah.
And just imagine the level of permissions, battling through this entire approval process within a city like Mumbai. We're talking about all of those water pipelines. Imagine what all you're cutting through when you're going through the entire city underground.
Yeah. And these are like government bureaucrats doing it.
But they're the best guys to take on the job. Because they can talk to everyone and get sort of everything done if they need to. Good things rarely come up as somebody trying to solve something or fix something. And a lot of good projects have also gone
Unnoticed.
unsung, unnoticed, and that have dramatically changed the way we live.
Like a few, you want to call some out?
You look at the Eastern Freeway,
Yeah.
very underrated project from the utility it delivered, but is a game changer for people going on the Eastern Front.
Yeah.
Going to New Bombay, that's how you're going to go.
Yeah. I remember one time actually, I went to Vikhroli last week, and there was a time going to Vikhroli meant up, right,
Yeah,
or just a
not a great road up.
yeah, like that.
Yeah.
This was like, I swear to God, it was 20 minutes.
So from my office in Sivri, it is faster to go through Vikhroli, go through Powai to go to Andheri sometimes than it is to cross and take
just take the birds route. Like
and
the
and
straight
take
route.
the Sea Link and the Western Express. That's how easy that road is at all given points in time. It's moving traffic and it's a central vein for eastern vein for a city.
I feel like this is like maybe not the best time to ask, but I want to ask, why are we still being charged for the Sea Link?
Oh, this is a good question actually.
Yeah, because if your justification is the coastal road, that opened like 5 minutes ago. What was going on for like 5 years, 10 years before that?
So projects are planned and on a finance model. So either it's the government that's paying you directly out of pocket, which is called an EPC contract. Means they're paying a contractor to execute the project, and here's a fee for it. So whatever that costs you plus your margin, etc. That's what you've bid for, and that's how you have to manage your own project. That's the contractor's responsibility to manage everything once that money has been given. Next is so this model I think is a PPP project, it's a public-private partnership, which means there was a private stakeholder that put in the money to sort of construct the project. The government also supplied with some money, and the toll revenue is what pays off each other's loans.
Okay.
So the reason we still have a toll for the Sea Link is because, and that's why they've had to hike the rates up as we've gone along with this project, is because the lenders have to be paid back their dues for constructing this bridge.
But it was told that it would stop after 5 years.
I mean,
It
obviously.
basically has gone up instead of stopping altogether. Is
Yeah.
what ended up happening.
But usually in some infrastructure projects, which is high volume, you can see it
Happening.
reduce. But otherwise, within a 10 to 20 year period, you'll see
It
toll
usually-
collection will stop.
Yeah, and to whatever credit, there's no toll for the coastal road.
There isn't as of yet. I think.
As of yet, you think they'll put a toll?
I don't think so. I think the contracts were given on an EPC model. So unless they decide that they need to earn some revenue or they want to discourage too many cars from coming into the city, they might have a congestion tax like what New York is dealing with right now, where people have actually found the city much less noisy and busy, all for $9 of a congestion tax that they've applied for people entering Manhattan.
Yeah, and parking, and people just decide not.
Parking is a nightmare there.
Yeah.
You park overnight, it's $100 that
Yeah.
you've paid for parking, $9 in and out of the city. But it's the $9 that really bugs you when it actually comes to congestion in developed cities as well.
Okay, guys, so I think that's a good note to end it on. Let's hope that Mumbai doesn't get so crowded that they now start charging us for the coastal road as well. Hopefully, some of the other measures discussed here can, we see some of those happening, and we see some pressure being taken off the cities, and eventually, instead of paying for the coastal road, we can take the Sea Link for free all the way to Warsaw and then catch the east-west Worli to Sivri flyover, and
Then you can get out of the city, go north towards Chembur, go south towards.
they'll extend it all the way down.
Yeah, and then there's a new tunnel that's being built from Orange Gate to the coastal. So you can
Yeah.
take one giant loop around the city. in
Yeah,
time
and
to
it'll
come.
be a nice, pleasant drive. Yeah, but you know what? When you're on Worli Sea Face, please don't take that first left turn thinking you're going to the Sea Link and go to Nariman Point. It will ruin your day. So Tanveer, where can we find you? Please tell us a little bit about Impact and what it does and what their website is.
Sure. So, firstly, thank you for having me.
Of course.
And Impact is an AI-powered business intelligence platform that aggregates and computes all construction and infrastructure data that's happening all across the country through all different formats. So, whether it's transportation, utilities, public infrastructure, buildings and factories, we cover all of those different types of projects, who contractors are, all of the data surrounding it. Our idea is to sort of be the Bloomberg for construction, when it comes into understanding what goes on in this industry. How do you get access to these business opportunities within it?
Nice. I was actually asking him, how do you collate all this data? And he was like, dude, all over the place. From someone's Twitter post where they've released some documents to, public interest organizations that have put out some type of briefs. And
There are various sources. They're not structured. So we're in the process of structuring these sources so that we can get urgent information to our customers pretty quickly. So customers sort of include contractors, building material suppliers, equipment suppliers, consultants, financiers, anyone who's in the business of making money from this entire industry.
Awesome. So that's what, impact.com?
It's impact,
The spelling is not impact.
cct.info.
Okay, yeah. We'll put links to it down below. Please check out Tanveer. He's also done a really cool documentary series on
contractors and
whatever, the last decade of India's development, right?
Yeah,
That's the
that
one
too.
which I was talking about.
Decade of India.
Which our mutual friend directed.
Yeah. It's on YouTube. It's called Decade of India.
Yeah, check that out. We'll put the link of that also below. And thank you everyone for watching this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. My name is Rohan Paranjpe. This is The Overcorrection. And please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time.